Into the rupee then, which has hit one-week closing low today with the currency touching 56.07 in the intraday market. The weakness of the euro is pressurizing the rupee. Also, the concerns over global growth has pulled down most of the emerging Asian currencies today. The closing on the rupee, of course, has happened at around 55.94, but we have seen the euro also rebound slightly. You can see 55.92, I beg your pardon. And the euro, of course, is off its two-year lows, and that was supporting for the Indian rupee while the closing market's there. For more on the currencies, let's go across to Subramaniam Sharma. He's Director, Greenback Forex Services. He joins us in the studio. Also joining us is Patrick Bennett. He's Forex Strategist at CIBC, and he joins us from Hong Kong. Mr. Sharma, hi, let me start with you. And what's your sense on how the rupee is trading now? We've seen it at 1% lows today, 1 week lows rather. Do you see further declines coming in?
I think the rupee is slightly corrected to the sharp gains we saw last week. It almost gained by 6% and tested the high of 54.20. However, the global cues continues to remain weak, and in fact today the weakness was purely driven by the weakness in the euro, which fell to a two-year low. Though the broader outlook on the rupee continues to remain weak, there are hopes still there on the measures which are likely to come in, and we are waiting for the presidential election to get over and Manmohan Singh to take over as the acting finance minister. That hope is still keeping the rupee little on the stronger side. In fact, today's weakness was very thin. If you see, rupee moved just by 20 paisa, considering the fact of the big fall in the euro. So I think broadly the rupee could remain range bound with a little volatility, but the medium term outlook on the rupee continues to be a little strong, and we may see it reach at the 54.20 again.
Vijay, what's your sense? The kind of move that we have seen into the rupee, I mean, it has been declining every day for last 4 days now. What's your sense where it could be headed now?
Manisha, I sort of agree that the 54 quarter, 54 half levels would be a kind of a cap on the rupee's gains. I don't see it going beyond that in the next couple of trading sessions, barring any pleasant surprises there, which we are all hoping and waiting for, but I think that might be quite elusive. As far as the Nifty NSE July futures are concerned, we did see the rupee fall below the 56 levels, and I think testing the 56.80 would not really be too much of a surprise, even though on thin volumes. But I would take a fresh call only if the rupee was to go to 56.80, 56.85, watching the open interest and change in traded volumes, if at all, and then take a call. But I'm not really very optimistic on the rupee over a period of time, because I think the appreciation that it saw was too fast and too much, and it might just consolidate a little bit or even weaken before one could take a fresh call.
Absolutely. Patrick, let me get you in the conversation as well. What's your sense on the Indian rupee? It's off record lows, has seen a lot of appreciation, very volatile to the global moves.
Yes, I think it's good that the outright depreciation pressure, which was very strong 2 or 3 weeks ago, has been arrested. We've managed to curb that. But the outlook is still for weakness. Growth has slowed, very, very dramatically. There's still a lot of pressure on the economy because of its leverage into Europe, or economies which are leveraged to Europe. So we expect to see further pressure on the currency. It's these triple deficits, trade, current and fiscal account, are still going to weigh on the currency going forward from here.
Patrick, what's your sense on the dollar index, which has seen a lot of attention as investors head for safe haven? It's holding above 83 right now. Do you see further gains?
Yeah, there's a couple of things playing to that. One is that the US economy is growing faster than the other G10 economies. The US growing around 2% while the Eurozone is in recession. The US first into this crisis, and we expect to be first out, even though growth is not especially strong. And overall, on a multi-year horizon, the dollar is still very cheap. So we look at the dollar both as a safe haven, but also as providing value for asset purchases by investors globally, and we expect the dollar to be on a strong trend over the next medium to long term.
Mr. Sharma, what's your sense? We've of course seen the rupee following the euro slightly lower. The dollar index has been holding on the higher side. We clearly seem to be following the global markets here. What's your sense into the reading these markets now?
See, I think the rupee has been definitely tracking the euro and also the other crosses, but more weightage still continues to be given to the domestic parameters and the growth story. The euro definitely has been weakening, and I still feel the euro could weaken further. We saw it test the two-year low, and considering the statement made by the ECB president, Mr. Draghi, that the risk has heightened, and he has painted a very dovish picture for the near term. So with that in mind, I think the euro could possibly slip toward the 1.20, and if that happens, rupee could take tilt. But again, still a lot depends on what the impetus and parameters and reforms which is going to come in and how it's going to really be implemented, that could give a direction to the rupee. But as of now, I think the upside on the rupee will possibly be toward the 56.80 if at all nothing comes. But if any reforms come, possibly we could see it go toward the 54.50 once again. So broadly, I think the rupee could take some cues from the global, the euro level, but the bigger factor is going to be the domestic parameters.
Sure. Vijay, what's your sense on the charts? How is euro looking now? Because we have seen a sharp decline. It's trading at 2-year lows. 1.23 was breached at a point. How is it looking?
I would watch the range of 1.2050 and 1.2475. Unless I see a breakout in either direction, I would still say it's consolidating. But there is a slight amount of pressure on the euro vis-a-vis the US dollar. But I still don't think it's doomsday scenario yet, and I would watch the 1.21 levels fairly keenly.
All right, so decline coming in is what our experts are saying. But Patrick, what's your sense going forward for the emerging Asian currencies with growth concerns in developed markets? We have seen an impact coming in here as well.
Yes, that's right. I mean, the biggest risk for Asian economies at the moment is of weak external demand. The traditional export markets, have slowed down considerably. Demand is very weak right across the globe. That's going to mean less trade surpluses, less current account surplus, and necessarily means less appreciation pressures on currencies. So the way forward is to allow and to promote, indeed, some modest currency weakness from here. That also helps to underpin the domestic economy by creating some monetary policy easing through the route of the currency.
All right, Mr. Sharma, one final question to you before we shut the show. What's your sense on the dollar index? Because the safe haven buying definitely seems to be happening there. Are you looking at levels beyond 84 and stuff?
See, again, the dollar index, as I mentioned, is purely a function of where the euro is, because the euro has the highest weightage on the dollar index. And the yen, of course, has been quite flat, so it has not been affecting much. So if the euro outlook continues to remain weak, and if we see it test new lows and break toward the 1.21, possibly the dollar index is looking toward the 84.50 level. So as of now, the call is where the euro is heading. And if the euro breaks the current 22.50, I think the euro index is, the dollar index is likely to go toward the 84. So the more is on the upside, and dollar index could gain from here.
Okay, so strength in dollar index but decline in euro and rupee is what you can expect, as our experts are telling you, in sense of currencies.